It's another day and we are back on the K5 Jimmy. So between today and the last episode, got a couple things knocked out. One, my buddy Sean came by, fabricated a cross brace to support the NP205, had a rear drive shaft made up by Drive Shaft Pro, and started getting the trans cooler mounted. Had to take off for a few weeks because we were filming a bunch of stuff up in Utah, so now we're back. So it's time to get this whole transmission buttoned up so we can actually get this K5 on the road. Here's what we gotta do still. We gotta run the transmission cooler lines. The shift linkage has been kind of a pain in the ass, right? I wanted to use this like low car cable shift, so I wouldn't have to worry about running like a big clunky fixed linkage from the column to the shifter on the transmission. But the problem is this thing, this brace, it mounts onto the steering column. Well, the problem with that is that on this one in particular, my C10 wasn't as bad, but there's not a lot of room here because of all the janky wiring and, you know, other shit that's going on in this master, but like there's these little divots on the column itself just sporadically. So between that and then the big block kind of sticking over a little too far, not a whole lot of room to get it on. So I went ahead and just got a different shift linkage from Low Car, which is the same one I use in the C10, which is fine. I just thought it'd be cool to use a cable one. It is this guy. So if y'all out there are 4L80 swapping something old and you want to keep your column shifter, basically use this. That's the part number. By the way, this isn't paid. This is just like, hey, they're like really the only ones that make something straight out of the gate that you can just buy and, you know, slap on and it works. So there you go. The one thing I will say about it, in my C10, I cannot get it all the way down to first gear. It's just like, it's not happening. We should be making enough torque. I mean, maybe not with this motor. Probably it makes enough torque to not need first gear, and I'm not gonna really tow stuff, but once the new motor is in, it'll make plenty of torque. Anyway, gonna get that shift linkage on, gonna plumb up this trans cooler, you know, hopefully we'll have it running tonight. Oh, by the way, got some new BFG meats. Oh yeah, Mud Train KM3s. These things are awesome, super comfy and quiet on the highway, which is ridiculous for such a knobby looking Mud Train tire. But also got some new wheels. Bam! Just hit that with some paint. I mean, we just had them primered, you know, but you know, just got some old Steelies, new hubcaps with the deep beauty rings. These are the OG ones, so yeah. Anyway, let's get moving. All right, first things first, might as well get this thing going. So it's very simple, it's all adjustable. And one of the things that you're gonna have to do, or at least I had to do it on the C10, but you know, once you get this measured out, you're gonna wind up putting a bend in this rod, you know, just so it kind of kinks the way you want it. And when you do that, you'll be able to actually get a little more travel out of it. This doesn't have, obviously, the cable, so you don't have to use your transmission pan bolts to like mount a, you know, bracket down there. This just goes on the shifter shaft. A couple bolts, some eyeball measuring, and you're good to go. Do one of these numbers here. So you're going to want to make sure that this side is actually in, because see this to slide at least a little bit. If you just do it like that, bam, you get that thing locked in. This is not an overly complicated process for bending it. Bottom side's done. Now, here's what I found on my truck. So on the instructions, they tell you to put it at 8 o'clock. You know, they want you to, basically your park to be here, or this is how this should be clocked. But I found on the C10 that this rod is not long enough to actually make that work out. So right here at about 9 o'clock, that's a bit about the optimal position for park as far as reach wise. So there you go. So while I'm down here, I figured I might as well take care of this old trans mount here. Also, I have new mounts coming for this, but they haven't shown up yet because everything's shipping super slow these days. But yeah, I'm gonna take care of that mount, get the lines going for the trans cooler. All right, let's go. Okay, shift linkage on, functioning properly. Kicking ass and taking names. So now, just gotta do the trans cooler lines. I should probably mount that a little sturdier, but I'll do that too. And yeah, we'll be good to go. Okay, so got my lines made up, but before I put them on here, because of the way I gotta run them, which basically I'm gonna try to tuck them into the C channel here, but they gotta come pretty close to the headers. Now, these headers will be changed. You're gonna make some new ones. It's a little close for comfort, so I'm gonna take and wrap it in this Thermotech Cool It heat sleeve. So yeah, obviously, you know what, we're running lines to the cooler, right? And it ain't gonna work very well if we're heating them back up with the exhaust on the way back in. So anyway, we'll wrap both of them in this just for safekeeping, and then you know, hopefully it keeps the temps down a little bit more. I mean, stuff's pretty good, so we'll see. All right, so got these all wrapped up. This Thermotech sleeve that I had was for, you know, bigger lines, so just ran some zip ties to keep it tidy. But yeah, so it's ready to go. Bada bing, bada boom. And I left these ends exposed just because I didn't want chrome sticking out of my grill, and even though it really probably wouldn't much, but you know, there's always that chance, so. Bottom side is tidied up here. Cooler lines ran. Decided to bring them around the motor mount here because there's just no space to fit them. I mean, there was, but it was gonna be such a tight squeeze to fit in between the header and the motor mount on the top side. So just decided to come around here, and it runs up like that. Simple. This is all done. So time to drop it down and tighten everything up. Shit. I guess plug the electricity back in and start it and start tuning the transmission with my phone. Technology. All right, so everything's all buttoned up. Let's see if it starts now, and then tune the transmission. Lame. All right. So, got everything hooked up. Let's see if she can get fired up here. Of course, there's no exhaust on it, so it's just open headers, so we shall see. Ooh! Oh yeah! Like a dream. All right, well, it's loud as shit, obviously, with open headers. I don't think I should drive it tonight because it's 2 a.m. right now, and I'm trying to be not the worst person in my neighborhood, but I do need to see if it will move forward on its own accord. So I'm gonna see if it'll engage, and I guess we'll just put this down right here. So it can technically move under its own power. Still gotta tune it, still gotta dial it in, but the transmission's engaging, it's got reverse, and it's got forward. I'm gonna come back tomorrow, finish this thing up. I'm gonna take it for a little spin around the hood. All right, well, we're back. Everything is pretty much buttoned up finally in the K5. We have one last thing to do, which is dial in the transmission, but I gotta do that driving. I gotta see how the whole thing functions. I was gonna try it the other night, but as it turns out, driving a big block with open headers is loud. It's really loud, and I didn't want to piss off the entire neighborhood. So, luckily my buddy Sean came through and made me a makeshift exhaust. this is something really quick with a bunch of spare MagnaFlow parts that we had. Oh, light's about to die. But a bunch of MagnaFlow parts we had lying around the shop. So yeah, there's no crossover. It definitely sounds like a boat, and it's a little lazy, but you know, it is what it is. It's gonna work. Now I just gotta bring it down, take it for a little drive, and see how she does. All right, I've got the transmission controller out here. This is gonna be mounted up behind the dash, but just wanted to be able to see it because there's a few things. One, when you go to set this up, so when you go to set this controller up, right? Shouldn't start the car first. I've already done the setup just to make sure that everything was okay. So check it out. Let me turn the fuel pump off here. All right, so you wanna set it up to where when you get a keyed on switch 12 volt, right? It'll pop on, you'll see the green light pop up right there, flashing. That lets you know everything's all good. Then, what you wanna do is, you'll go to this app that they have. It'll link to the one you have, and you can see here where we get a whole readout of like vehicle speed, engine speed, the trans temp, all that good stuff. So now that it's reconnected, we get a full readout from the tach, right? Your temps, what your line pressure is, so we're at 60 pounds, looking good. So we're gonna drive her around, see how she does, and on the next episode, we're gonna rewire the whole thing, put some new wheels and tires on it, and we'll probably throw in a new dash so we can actually read gauges and stuff like that. So there you go, let's get moving. All right, we are. It's another, oh shit.